what's the starting point for the church in being able to address that?
Well, if this is a struggle of civilizations, in one sense it is. It is a clash of civilizations. Samuel Huntington, the Harvard professor, wrote the classic book in the 90s called The Clash of Civilizations. People kind of poo-pooed it. What he said is there will be a clash in the 20th century between Islam and the West. Then he said, Islam will win. Most people don't read the ending of that book. It's pretty chilling. And he says they'll win because they're more aggressive. Well, that's a challenge to the church. We've got to be more aggressive in evangelism and in fulfilling the cultural commission. We've got to present to the world a better way to organize our lives together, which is what a religious viewpoint does, than Islam. And I think we have a far better case. I've written about this in several of my books. We've got a far better case, but we've got to be prepared to make it and defend it. We've got to be much more committed to living the Christian life in the workplace, something you've done such superb work in the home, in every area of life, so that we permeate society with Christian values.
You know, I was in Morocco earlier this year, primarily an Islamic country, and one of the comments from the delightful professional people we were with was, "You're so different from the rest of Americans." And I said, "Well, what's the rest of America like?" And they said, "Well, you know, the people we see on television and in the movies." And it really struck me that we're exporting in the way of our culture, is helping shape their worldview of the West, but specifically of Christianity, because just as they're an Islamic country, they view us as a Christian country.
Precisely. And this is one of the things that just breaks my heart. When we have battles over gay marriage and that sort of thing in this country, we're feeding the fires of Islam and their hatred of us. And one of the things that, if you read Bernard Lewis, the Princeton scholar who's probably the leading authority on Islam in the world, basically he says that the radical Islamists are not opposed to Christianity as such. They are opposed to the fact that the West doesn't live up to its own Christian values. So they look at it as decadent hypocrites. And so the more we show signs of decadence in America, the more vulnerable we are to attack from Islam. And if we would suddenly see the light, we would start to say, we want to live more like a Christian country. We wouldn't have all these people wringing their hands saying, oh, these Christians are trying to impose their values on us. We would say, bring forth those Christian values, because we got to restore a sense of decency in order for the Islamic world, at 1,100,000,000 people, not to be wanting to destroy us. They want to destroy us because we're decadent. And that's what Osama bin Laden preaches, that makes us so terribly vulnerable. That's why the role of the church is so important. That's why biblical worldview is so important, that Christians start making a difference in our society.
So once again, the impact on our culture ties right back in with how the rest of the world views us.
Oh, absolutely. And when you start talking about the struggle with Islam and terrorism, this is a matter of life and death. I mean, this isn't just, are we doing good things in the community, or are we evangelizing prisoners, or are we taking care of the needs of the hungry? This is much deeper. This is going to the soul of our culture, the decay of which is making us incredibly vulnerable to Islamic terror.